Hello. Welcome. My name is Kevin Owasu Itoe, and welcome to Teach Yourself Test Automation. Right, we are teaching ourselves Cypress, and the aim is to upskill right from manual test to test automation. Right, we're giving ourselves a year to do this, and we're already 3 months into the year. So I've taught myself Selenium WebDriver with Java. I've taught myself a couple of frameworks. So Serenity BDD with Selenium JUnit and Cucumber, and that's the main framework I've taught myself. I've also taught myself some TestNG, but now I want to teach myself another test tool, right? A test automation tool, which is far removed from Selenium, right? And Cypress is the main test automation tool, kind of, which is coming into the market, right? And for the future, right? So, last video we saw what browsers that Cypress supports, right? And we also run our first test case, right? And this is the first test case here. We talked about the Mocha framework that Cypress uses. So describe holds your test. It's kind of holds your test cases. So it's a test suite, and then the et function as it holds individual test cases, right? So hopefully that's clear enough. This was the last test case we ran, so that was my first test case, right? So we visited my URL, and we visited my URL, and then we did 2 assertions, right? Let's just run this and see if it still runs, right? So we save that, and we go to our test runner and just click on the test and see if it still runs. It should still run. I don't think I changed. I think I changed it back for the assertions to pass, right? So the assertions should pass, right? Okay. So we assert the 2 assertions. We did one assertion was that the title, well, it was on URL, right? So the URL should contain, or it should include, teach yourself, which it does, so it passes, right? And then the other assertion was on the title, right? Which says the title should contain, or the title should be homepage, which it is, right? And if you put this on small capitals, right, that assertion will fail. Well, small letters, not small capitals, right? Okay. So we want to, in this video, we want to see other commands, right? So it's like we've seen visit, right? So if we go back to our Visual Studio Code, so we've seen visit, right? So we want to see other commands that is used in Cypress, right? Cypress commands, right? So we want to see get, which get just fetches whatever you want to fetch. Click, we'll see how to click on an element, to get an element, to click on an element, and hopefully to type something into a text box, right? A text box. One of the tricky things is finding the excuse me, the a web page to work with, right? So I have gone and got one of my this tools QA, right? Tools QA. This is what we're going to be doing, right? So what we're going to do in this test case. So we have test case 1. We're going to do a test case 2 underneath here, right? So we'll use this tools QA demo. It's called demoqa.com, and it's the text box. So we're going to be doing text box to see get, type, click, right? Get, type, click, right? So here we're just going to go and type my name, Kevin Owasu Itoe, right? And then the email will be right, gmail.com, right? So this is what we're going to do, right? So we're going to do 13 flat 3 Tower Street. We're going to keep this on here so that we can copy it later, right? So we'll just copy that, put the same thing down on the permanent address, and we'll click submit. When you click submit, I think underneath here, see, so when you click submit, right, So what we're going to do is what I've just done on screen just now. Yeah, we're going to try and write a test case in Cypress to do just what we've just done, right? So if we head over to back to our Visual Studio Code, all we want to do is, remember I said the it function denotes a test case, right? So we just want to do this and write our second test case, right? What we want to do is probably take this off because we're going to be writing first on that. And here we might just want to change it into my second test case, right? And obviously we're going to be visiting a different URL. So we're going to copy this URL, copy, and right. So what do we want to write first? So we want to write CY, obviously. CY is your driver command, just like in Selenium, where CY has all your methods, right? So here we want to inspect this, right? Inspect this so that we can grab that element, so we can get that element, so get this text box, right? So here we have ID, so we use ID, right? We use ID. So we'll try and use various other locator strategies, right? So for here we are for now we're using ID, right? So we'll CY, CY dot, it will be get, right? And within get we want to put the ID, right? So now what you should know is Cypress supports only CSS Selector, right? CSS Selector. So if you want to use ID, you want to use class name, you have to adapt it into a CSS Selector. So to turn your ID into a CSS Selector, all you have to do is use hashtag, right? And put your ID name in front of that, right? So we've got this field by using that ID CSS Selector, right? And what we want to do now, we want to we want to type something into that field, right? So we want to say type, right? And what do we want to type? We want to type my name. So we just go back and copy this, right? So we're a bit quicker, so I don't have to type, right? And it looks like we're going to be repeating ourselves a little bit on this, finding stuff and finding the elements, but we're going to use different locator strategies, right? So if we inspect this one, right, what we could do is just copy this, right, because that's the same kind of code we're going to be writing. So we're going to be doing a get. The only thing that will be different here is the actual locator, right? Using the actual locator, right? And what we are typing in is going to be an email. So it's just going to be OWASUI and gmail.com. Now we go back and we should get that element, right? So get this element. So we have inspected this. What have we got here? So let's try and use a customized CSS selector, right? That Cypress supports, right? A customized CSS selector. So it will start with tag name. So we use input. So we're going to copy input. Go input, and it's going to be these square brackets, right? And then in here, you're going to use an attribute. Now you can use any of the attributes along this HTML attributes, right? All this HTML code that's highlighted is any of the attributes for that field, right? For that element, right? So we can use type, right? So type, right? So we'll use double quotations now because we're going to be using single quotations inside, right? So that you should keep an eye on that, right? So it will be a type equals. See, now we're using single quotations. That so we had to use not quotation, yeah, quotes, yeah, right, equals what do you want to say now? equals email, right? Equals email. So that's copy that and put that in there, right? So this should be, this is where we should use it and double, right? And take this away. Now that should be fine. Let's see what's going on now. What's going on? It's complaining about something here. Learning as we go along, learning as we go along, right? Right, so it says it's expected. Nope, that's not what it's expecting. Right, type. It's an equals. Is there an equals? Equals the value. No, what am I doing? Type equals. So input. Now that should work. Dot. It's complaining about this at the end, right? So let's try to do this again. So does that work? Okay. I see that now, right? So at the start, we have to have, this has to be a double, right? Not a single, right? And that's it now. And in here, we don't need any quotes in here, right? That's it. So we learn as we go along, right? We learn as we go along. And this has to be a type, right? Type, and in here just singles. And it is going to be, let's go here and copy this very quickly. See, we just learn as we go along, right? So that's what we have for the second element. So, and then now we want to go for the current address, inspect that, and ID equals to current address. We're just going to use ID for this locator strategy, right? So if we just put the ID down here and copy this again, we're going to use ID, right? So it's just going to be hash current address, right? Hashtag current address. And then obviously you want to put an address in here rather than an email, right? Hopefully you're following along. If you can slow the video down, or watch it over and over, right? And that's for our address. And the next one we're going to be this, I think this is called permanent address, so we just copy this as well. Again, there are some duplications in here. We just want to be able to click on the last button, right? And here I think it's called permanent address. So if we inspect that, yep, permanent address, we're going to use ID again, right? Because some of this class name is not unique, right? The class name is not unique. Sometimes you use the tag dot class name, right? So tag dot class name will give you another form of CSS selector, but the tag dot class name itself is not unique. So the two attributes are not unique, right? So we're just sticking to ID, right? That's what I say. The amount of websites to work with are not many out there, and there's very little selection, right? So we'll just learn what we can learn here. So we're learning get command, we're learning the type command, and we're going to learn the click command right here, right? So it's just going to be cy dot get. Let's type again, like, so that we don't have to be copying the code and putting in there and replacing what we're replacing, right? So that hopefully you're keeping along with that, right? So let's just go and inspect that button. Let me take myself out to do it. Inspect this button and see what it's called. We've got an ID which is called submit Can we use anything else? Should we go for another? Should we go for another? Yep, we could go for another customized CSS selector in Cypress. Now just stick with ID for now, right? Let's be quick and wrap up this video, right? So another hashtag. We'll look at this locator strategies in another video, right? Another hashtag, and then submit, and then now we just want to say dot click, right? Open and close brackets. Now if we save this, hopefully it runs smoothly, right? So the first test case is run. We are running the second test case. Vist here. So far so good. Error, unrecognized hashtag at current address. So we could not recognize that, and I know why. See, here we don't need these double quotations, right? Because I've been copying from the line below, you see, I mean above. So you don't really need all this. Hopefully you see the corrections I'm making, right? Hopefully you can see the corrections that I'm making. Dot type, permanent address, right? Need a single one there, and that should be it. Hopefully you see the corrections I made, right? Because I copied from this line, I kept the double quotes. I mean the double quotes, the double speech marks, or whatever you want to call them, and I've just taken them off, right? I've taken them off because when you're using ID, this we were writing a customized CSS selector for Cypress, right? In that one, so we don't really we just wanted to write a straight CSS ID, yeah, ID CSS selector, right? So let's save that, and hopefully it runs great this time round. Right, that's the first one. We started done the assertions. We are on the second website now, right? It's entered the name, it's entered the address, another current address, and it's clicked submit, right? There we go, right? So there you go. We have seen how to, we have seen the get command, we have seen the type command, and we have seen the click command, right? So the learning continues, right? You've seen me got stuck here a few times, right? So I just need to be practicing as well, right? And hopefully you're practicing along as well. But we did solve an issue we're having, right? So it's right here. So the thing is, when you're doing a customized CSS selector for Cypress, right? It has to be wrapped in quotes, right? It has to be wrapped in quotes, and the double quotes, the double quotations, wrap it. If you have single quotations within the customized CS selector, which you're going to have, you have to put your customized CSS selector, Cypress customized CSS selector in double quotes, right? So that it recognizes the single quote within the customized CSS selector. So that's one thing I've just learned, right? So my name is Kevin Owasu Itoe. If you've not joined the journey so far, consider subscribing to the channel and following me on Medium, right, where I am doing a project, and that project is a personal development drive for the year, right? I'm trying, you can follow me. I think there's a link. I'm going to place a link down below, right? And you follow me and see what that's all about. It's upskilling myself and trying to take myself. It's a holistic approach. It's a holistic approach. There's not much time to say it on this video, so I'll let you to go and find out, right? There's a link down below. Click on it and you'll be taken to Medium, and you can find out the journey that I am on, right? So my name is Kevin Owasu Itoe. Stay blessed and bye.